Well, now we're going to talk a little bit about sharpening drill bits. Now, we're not talking about sharpening them correctly in a shop where you have one of these machines. This is one of those drill doctors. Does a great job. That'll do everything from 1/16 on up to 1/2 inch, but then you can get the bigger one to do 1/2 inch to 3/4. But let's say you're out in the field and all you have is a belt sander, and I'm gonna put my belt sander up here in a minute. But here, just to kind of give you an idea, let's just say this edge has got a big notch out of it from, say, drilling through a piece of iron, and you knocked off a big chunk of it. Now it's not drilling. So what you want to do is you want to set this up to where the backside, so you're taking more meat off the backside as you're coming around to the front, to where when you get to the front side you're just barely taking anything off, but you are straightening up the edge and getting a cutting edge back on it again. And the same thing with the other side. Now, the only downside to that is that you're moving the center point one way or another, which means it's not going to drill a true center. It's not going to drill a true center hole. It's going to, as it's drilling, it's going to kind of offset one way or another. It's going to start what they call traveling. So anyway, this is going to get you through the job, but I'm just going to give you a real quick example of what I'm talking about, because you probably won't have anything this big, but you're probably more down to like 1/2 inch. This is a 3/8, where you just need to just get enough on there where you can just barely finish it up. Anyway, if you got some kind of marker, this is really helpful. And if you don't have that, if you got some spray paint or something, but mark the tip of your bit. This way you know where you've been. I mean, these markers are great because it only takes just a few seconds for this stuff to dry. And then that way you'll be able to tell if how far you've gone and how much you've taken off, because normally it doesn't take much to get these things sharpened once they're dull, because like I said, you're out in the field, you just want to get done with the job, so you just want to get it sharp just best you can. So anyway, what you're doing, this is kind of an over. Kind of an overkill, but what you're doing, you're starting right there and then you're rolling the bit until you think you've gotten to the front cutting edge, and then that's where you want to stop. Okay, now you can see what you've done. See, you're not quite perpendicular to the belt, and you didn't cut anything. You just barely caught a little bit on the front edge there, so you need to go just a little bit more. So let's try it again. Okay, now you've got the whole thing. Well, sharpening drill bits while you're out in the field, if you've got a belt sander, you know, that's going to be your best bet for, you know, short-term use of a drill bit that's gone dull because of one reason or another. In this case, it's because the leading edge has got knocked off. I hit a nail and it knocked the end off both sides. So I mean, it's still cutting, but it's not cutting very well. So I'm going to show you how to sharpen it so you can at least get by with this job before you go back to the your shop and then use your professional drill sharpening mechanism, whatever that might be. But just sharpening them out in the field is usually the quickest way, and a belt sander is a good way to do it. The only problem is most belt sanders are built like this, to where the motor is on top of the belt, and it makes it very difficult to hold that or to turn it over on its top in order to use this as a sanding disc. I mean, you can put it in on your legs like this, but you want to make sure the sparks are going away from you and not coming towards your face. In other words, don't turn this thing around like this where the sparks are coming to you. Get it where the sparks are going away from you. Even though you're not going to be using it that long, you still don't want to get anything in your eye. Even if you got safety glasses on, there's always a chance of them bouncing off of something and coming between your glasses and your face. Alright, but I found the best one on the market, and I've had this thing probably for 20 years. It's this old Bosch sander. I mean, you can, that's the top. I love it because it's a great sander, and they made the whole thing flat so that all you got to do is turn it over, and now you've got just a regular belt sander. The one thing I didn't like about it was the dust bag. It was really very small, and the thing filled up very quickly, so I ended up having to get rid of it. A lot of times I just hook a vacuum cleaner up to it, but a lot of times the hose just gets in the way. But in any case, we're not talking about belt sanders in general. We're talking about sharpening drill bits. But this is the best one to use. I don't even know if Bosch still makes these. I've had this thing for so long, I haven't had to buy another one. My quarter cable one, I hardly ever use anymore because it's not as versatile as a Bosch. Even though these are great belt sanders, you're not going to find one any better for just belt sanding. But you can't turn it over. And the nice thing about quarter cable is that it's so heavy, you don't even have to push down on it. It's got plenty of meat. What we're going to do, we're going to use this belt sander. As I've showed you before, what you do is you start from the relief side and work your way around to the cutting edge, because you don't want to start at the cutting edge and then go back the other way. There's a chance you could take too much off your cutting edge, and then of course then your drill bit is really dull. Then all it's going to do is smoke going through any kind of lumber or metal. So take this, you're going to lay it on the relief side, and then you're going to come around to the cutting edge, because you want to spend more time on the relief side. And then as you're coming up to the cutting edge, you can pretty well see when it's going to touch. And then you just want to work your way into it, but not very deep. You just want to come around and just cut it, because all we're trying to do is just cut up that edge where we hit that nail. One thing I forgot to mention, if you've got any kind of a mark slot or whatever, go ahead and mark the edge so that you know how much so you can see that you have taken off some. There you can see where I got rid of some of that mark slot there, so you can tell where you're coming from, and you can tell you've got so you can drag your finger and it almost catches. It's not quite sharp enough, but at least you're taking off more on the back than you are on the cutting edge. So we need to do this edge, and then we need to turn it around and do this other edge. Our drill bit. You can see we got our hole going, we're getting through it. I mean, it's not the perfect hole, but a lot of times when we're just trying to finish up a job, trying to get a hole drill, it's not because we want a perfect hole, it's just that we're just trying to get the job done. Anyway, now you get this done, then you take it home and then you do the right thing. But it's all sawdust, which means it is cutting, but it's just cutting real slow.